More than half of respondents say there was no knockout blow in the showdown. 1/3 of those surveys say McGuinty came out on top, a few points ahead of NDP leader Andrea Horwath, with Hudak rounding out the field. But the current premier did lead by a wide margin when asked who sounded and acted most like a premier. And joining me now to review the tale of the tape in the Ontario Leaders Debate is PR consultant and Liberal Party strategist AmandaAlvaro. Amanda, great to see you as always. And I was actually a little bit surprised about that because I thought this was Premier McGuinty's fourth debate. And in the last three, he looked a lot sharper than he looked last night, but apparently the province doesn't agree with me. Give me your sense on did anything shift in terms of, you think, in terms of perceptions of leaders, where people are going to be asking questions? What did it look like today?
Yeah, I think that the Liberal campaign was probably pretty happy with McGuinty's performance by the end of the debate. To be able to walk away with numbers like 49% of Ontarians feeling like he looked and acted like a premier were the numbers that they were seeking, I'm sure. And I think incumbency and experience really mattered, so he sort of held his cool while he came under attack a number of times. But this was not a big, meaningful debate in terms of really rallying attention. There were no big knockout punches. There were no truly memorable engagements. This was kind of like the rest of the campaign. A little quieter, more about the issues, more about substance than style. One
of the things, and I just mentioned that today Premier McGuinty was talking about, he's the guy who should be sitting across from the Prime Minister, the Conservative Prime Minister, when it comes to talk about healthcare deals. But last night he didn't use that line. I thought that would have been a great one for him to say to particularly people who might be thinking about voting for Andrea Horwath, who do you want facing off against Stephen Harper? That seemed to be something the Liberals could really get some separation between them and the NDP on.
I think he actually did say that line.
Oh, did he use it? Okay, I must have just...
He did. He used the line in the debate. It was probably one of the more memorable lines coming out of the debate. But you did ask about impressions, and I think some other impressions that we saw in polling post-debate were Andrea Horwath really winning that likability factor. So, Ontarians really felt that they could connect with her. At the same time, though, you have to ask yourself, is the person that you want to have a beer with the same person that you want to run the province? So I don't know how far likability will go to change the numbers as we're 8 days away from the election.
Let's talk about Tim Hudak for a minute. I mean, he kept coming back on the line again and again that, sorry, Premier, no one believes you anymore. And that, I think, would be effective if you were at all leaning towards Tim Hudak. But again, there's among decided voters it depends on what, I guess, issue you're thinking of. Where does it go for someone who's voting on health care, for instance?
Yeah, and I think Hudak unfortunately had a pretty stilted performance, and despite the fact that he was trying to hammer home on the trust issue, it didn't really go his way. And I think one of the only truly memorable moments when it came to Hudak was when he referenced his own daughter's plight with the healthcare system. It was a really humanizing moment for Hudak. We don't see that very often. He tends to have a bit of a pit bull or attack dog image, so it was nice to see the kind of human side of him. But as far as the trustworthy lines went, you can see in the polls today, they didn't seem to go far enough to convince Ontarians that the Premier wasn't the person to continue to lead the province.
Now, one of the ironies I've noted throughout this campaign is, of course, it's a Liberal Premier running against a Conservative challenger. Here in Ottawa, we have a Conservative Prime Minister, and Jim Flaherty, who's had a lot of time in Ontario politics, was fending off accusations the economy is in trouble by saying, we've got lots of jobs, we're doing great in the economy, it's fabulous. Of course, the irony is Tim Hudak was trying to make the exact opposite of the case to try and damage your guy last night in debate.
Right, and again, coming out of the polls, what we saw was jobs in the economy is probably the topic that we're going to hear the most about over the last 8 days of the election. It was the topic that trumped health care and taxes in terms of the issue that Ontarians want to learn about. So we're going to be hearing a lot more from all three candidates in the last 8 days talking about jobs in the economy. And certainly for Horwath, it's going to have to be an opportunity for her to show the rest of the province that she can really talk the talk when it comes to the big issues and convince Ontarians that she has what it takes to lead.
Now, any number of polls that we've seen say, it's close. It's a tight race. Everybody's got a good chunk of support. But it does look, a lot of them say that it could be a minority government. And I wonder if Liberals at this point are thinking about that, what it may mean if they have to seek somebody's support to move their program forward, should, in fact, it be a Liberal minority government.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of people were looking to the debate as kind of the critical juncture point. Would the debate really move the needle? Coming out of the debate, I think the consensus has been that it really didn't move the needle. And we haven't had any big gaffes along the campaign trail. There hasn't been anything that's kind of motivated Ontarians to gather around a wedge issue. So the last 8 days are going to matter when it comes to, you know, people on the ground and how we're coalescing the vote. I think all of those things will matter. And certainly every campaign, particularly the Conservatives and the Liberals, are going to be considering, you know, the outcome of Election Day. Is it a majority? Could it be a minority? And how will they handle either outcome?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be an exciting race right to the finish. I'm sure you do too, and you're going to
Absolutely.
Go work hard to get that Liberal team elected. Thank you, Amanda. Very much appreciate your insight tonight.
Thank you.
Alberta Tory leadership candidate Alison Redford is mourning the death of her mother. Helen Redford died Tuesday night of an undisclosed illness after being admitted to a Calgary hospital. Her campaign strategist says she and her family will take some time to mourn, but her campaign for Premier will continue. Redford will take part in tonight's debate, but will have no other public events until Friday.